The biggest learning that I've ever had in my entire business career, which now next year will be 50 years. Believe it or not,
this is 5 decades crystallized in this one sentence. I cannot wait.
Yeah. I shudder to actually say that 50 years I've been doing this, but it's really that the purpose of work is to serve.
Sure.
Most people think it's to make money.
Yes.
And to feed
Yes.
your family and all that, which is very, very important, but it's never the purpose.
Sure.
That is the reward.
Sure.
There was a period when there were consumer boycotts.
Sure. Sure.
Okay, and the black population was trying to boycott white-owned stores. One of the staff comes in and says that, well, my guy, he was out there in the streets promoting the consumer boycott of our own store. Yeah, so that was a hell of a shock. He knew he was going to get fired, and I knew he was going to get fired. But anyway, I started shouting at him and telling him, how could you do this to me? And then, anyway, eventually he says, I understand why you're upset, but if I can just say one or two things, if you don't mind. I said, yeah, I said, sure. And then he said to me, he said, I'm quite happy here, working here, I enjoy my job and it's been fun, but every single day, virtually every day of my life, on my way into work, on my way home, at home in the evenings, there's always police harassment. He says the police are giving us a hard time. They just stop you and they give you a hard time. If you don't have your dump pass, they give you in trouble. And it's really, and you can end up in jail. And he said, we are suffering here. Yeah. So I said, explain, what do you mean we're suffering? So he said, I would do this again if I had to.
Sure.
I said, well,
sure.
Are you serious? He said, yeah, I'm serious. I said, why? Why would you do that again? It just doesn't make any sense. You're going to lose your job over this thing.
Yeah.
He said, yeah, but for me, it's freedom first.
Sure.
And work second.
Sure.
Oh. Opened my eyes, opened my mind, and I said,
I am Dr. Maanda Tshifularo, and on today's episode of the SuperLead podcast series, we are joined by Ian Fuhr, who is a serial entrepreneur and the founder of the Hatch Institute as well as the Sorbet Group. And today we unpack insights from his book, The Human Bridge, and explore how leaders can connect people, purpose, and performance. Ian, welcome to SuperLead podcast. We've been doing some work together, and finally we actually get to sit down for a podcast.
Right, thank you.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it. Thanks.
Excellent. So you have written this fantastic book that we launched, I think, last year.
Yes. Yeah.
And we want to unpack it here today on studio. But before we do that, you have written another powerful book before this, and I'm just curious if you can just sort of let in our listeners on just that book and the concepts that were there.
Right. So the previous book is called Cultureneering.
Sure.
Which is, I suppose, the definition of cultureneering is how to create a strong culture in a diverse workforce that lays the platform for obsessive customer service.
Sure. Okay.
So it's a very it's a long definition.
Yeah, but
it's very basically the link between culture and service.
Sure.
So if you can build a strong culture, the chances of you being able to deliver a good service increases fantastically.
Excellent. And you have a framework because you start off with this diverse environment.
Yes.
And you have a framework that also speaks to South Africa's context. If you just build it up from this diversity all the way to service.
Okay, all right. So So if you can just imagine that we're building a little monument here, right?
Yeah.
And in the soil
Yeah.
is the socio-political context,
Sure.
right? And the diversity, with particular focus on race and race relations, because that's always been a very big part of my work.
Sure.
But other areas of diversity as well, of course. And the whole idea about that context is to get to understand how what is happening outside the company,
Yeah.
in the rest of the country,
Yeah.
impacts on the people in the business, and therefore on the culture, and therefore on the business itself. So,
Excellent.
So if you don't understand that, if you don't know how to navigate that stuff, it's going to make it so much more difficult for you to build a culture where everybody has a sense of belonging.
Sure.
Despite their differences, despite everything that's different about them, what they look like, how they dress, how they speak, what language, what religion, what gender, etc., etc. Each one of those people, regardless, feels a sense of belonging. They feel accepted and respected. They feel that their contributions are valued. They feel that their voices are heard. They feel they're treated with dignity and equality and respect, etc., etc. All the things that make people feel comfortable in their environment. If you can create that, then you can create some sort of common purpose, where everybody comes to work for the same reason. And that reason, in my view, is to serve. We come to work to serve. Now, that particular sentence really reflects perhaps the biggest learning that I've ever had in my entire business career, which now, next year will be 50 years. Believe it or not,
this is 5 decades crystallized in this one sentence. I cannot wait.
I shudder to actually say that 50 years I've been doing this. But it's really that the purpose of work is to serve. Most people think it's to make money. And to feed your family and all that, which is very, very important. But it's never the purpose. That is the reward.
That's good.
So the lesson is that you always have to put the purpose before the reward. If people come to work just for the rewards, then they come to take more than they give. That's the problem. They've come to take more than they give, and if you do that, then clearly you've turned your back on the customer, and then the service quality goes down. So, but if you come to give more than you take, right, and I call that a contributor, then you know that you've put your service first, and if you do that effectively, the rewards and the money will always follow.
So I see leaders sort of say, okay, my service is going down. So I'm going to use the same lever of reward. So now I'm going to give you a little bit more money if you give me a net promoter score up by 2 percentage points or some number like that. What's wrong with that logic?
Okay, so that's always about the carrot and the stick, right? So you dangle the carrot. The thing is then, if you're going to reward for certain things, you get what you reward. So if you're rewarding sales, you'll get sales. If they have to discount it and there's no profit, it doesn't matter because they're getting the sales. So you're paying them for sales. If you are discounting or you're rewarding for profit, then they're going to cut corners, they're going to save money. Invariably, it's the customers who feel the suffering. That's the thing. So, but if you really focus on the customer and you serve well and you provide exceptional service, the money follows because it's a natural flow of things. In the beauty industry, we used to say the people will come back when they become loyal. Not just satisfaction. Satisfaction is never good enough. You see, that's the thing. Satisfaction is never good enough.
So if you go to one of your Sorbet outlets and then you are satisfied with the treatment, that's not enough.
That's not good enough because anybody can be satisfied. You can go anywhere. So the expectation of somebody coming into a beauty salon is that you're going to have a good service. If you see, if you receive the good service, then you're satisfied. Then you're satisfied. But if you receive great service, then you have been served beyond your expectations.
Sure.
So when you go beyond expectations, you then go from satisfaction to loyalty.
I see.
Yes. That's what's going to bring you back.
Sure.
But if you're dissatisfied, well, it's fine, but I can go somewhere else and also be satisfied.
Sure.
So I say satisfaction is the absolute minimum.
Okay. And the problem is in other in other organizations, you go there and you're still not satisfied. That's like below.
That's gonna always happen, unfortunately. Sure. But you have to stand out. Okay. In fact, I'm going back into the beauty industry now. I'm not sure if you're aware.
Say more.
Yeah. We're starting a company called Popsicle. Okay. I've got a young partner, a couple that's working with me.
Lovely.
And they had this business before. They had a product called Popsicle, and we're now going back into that.
Yeah.
And again, we're just trying to see if we can do it better. Just nails.
Okay.
Nails only. Just nails. And
so someone will just
trying to do it better. That's it.
Someone will leave home to just go do nails on.
That's it. Yeah. No, absolutely. Nails is massive.
There's enough.
I mean, even at Sorbet, nails was about 60% of the business. Yeah. Nails is. The thing about women, I don't know what it is with women and their nails, Maanda. There's an obsession there. Okay. There's something I don't fully understand. I always joke about seeing a few guys standing around a braai.
Yes.
Having a beer or two, and the lovely woman walks past, and then one of the guys says, "Man, look at did you see that beautiful set of nails?" That's what it is.
I think maybe the two of us might never be able to understand. But I am fascinated that 60% of people that used to walk in into Sorbet, it was largely nails. And now you're going back to this beauty business, and I imagine this is like the first service you will offer.
Yes.
You probably will augment going forward.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, but you are happy to go in with just nails.
Just nails, yeah, because nails is huge and it's growing all the time. More and more people aspire to having their nails done, so the market is expanding in terms of the income brackets. It's widening.
I see that.
So you can get people coming through now that aspire to have their nails done as well.
Sure. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Lovely. Thanks for that, and also the update.
Yeah.
And now today we want to get into the book. It's called The Human Bridge, Racial Healing in South Africa.
Yes.
Even the title is heavy. So first of all, so the title is heavy. Right. The book is heavy. Why will Ian and Nina spend the hours and the days and the editing and the writing and get all the essays from all the contributors here to produce a book such as this one?
Right. Okay, it was a big project.
Yeah.
I think we need a bit of context here in terms of my own personal history.
Yes, please.
Okay, so it goes back a long way in my business, right from the early days. And then it wasn't something that I went after, but it came to find me. It was this incredible, highly complex environment in which I tried to open my first business, which was called Kmart. Yeah. And I was the only white person there.
Just to date us a little
1976.
1976.
I was 22 years old.
Let's just pause and look around here and see if anyone was alive. 1976.
1976. I was 22 years old.
Right.
And my brother came back from America, and he said, "There's this business called Kmart there, and we must open one of those things."
Sure.
And I had very successfully dropped out of university at that stage. so in my second
successfully dropped out of university.
Yes,
okay.
In my second year.
What happened there? What happened
there? I was completely useless. So when my brother said to me, like, "You got to run it," because I said, "Which one of us is we?"
Yeah.
And he said, "You're going to run it." So I mean, there I was. Yeah. And I did what most, I knew nothing about retailing. I knew nothing about, and it was going to be aimed at the black market. I knew nothing about that. Nothing about discounting. And in fact, everything I needed to know, I didn't know. So I said what most naive 22-year-old boys would say.
Yeah.
Say, sure, let's do this. Sounds like fun. Sounds like fun. So yeah, so we planned the opening. Interestingly, we planned to open in June 1976. I mean, yeah. So fate had it. June 1976 became a huge date and a huge month in our history, and so we had to postpone it. When the country was literally burning at that stage, and we had to postpone, and we moved it into July. And yeah, so it's a big story and it's a long story. And
we have the time.
We've got the time.
We've got the time.
Okay, so my brother said to me, because he's about 10 years older than me, and he managed to get through university, so he so he had a bit of an advantage over me at that stage. And he said to me, listen, we need to advertise really low prices.
Sure.
Because we need to get ourselves on the map, put ourselves on the map. So I didn't know anything about gross profit and stuff like that. So
who needs to know that?
Yeah,
You're gonna run a business.
So I really cut the crap out of the prices. So low, in fact, we took a double-page spread in the Sowetan newspaper, and half the country arrived. They couldn't. Nobody could believe these prices.
People sell this at this price.
Really, they came, and there were thousands of people that came to the opening of the store. So much so that the police thought it was another uprising. So they came with their Caspers and their hippos and all that stuff, and their dogs, and took us about 2 hours to sort it all out and to explain to them that this wasn't an uprising, it was just a store opening. Yeah. Eventually we got it right, and we had queues around the blocks, and it was really quite something.
Yeah.
And so to this day, we were so overwhelmed. I had no idea how we even managed to get any money into the bank, because there was just money
and
everywhere.
people buying cash.
Yeah, but all cash. There were no credit cards in those.
Oh yes, I forget.
Everything was cash, and so the tills weren't big enough to house all the money. So we were hiding it under the blankets and behind the heaters. I think maybe 50% got to the bank.
What a good problem to have. We got so much money we don't know where to put it, but we're making massive losses. Okay, who's done the numbers?
Anyway, it was quite something. But then on the more serious side was the challenge for me as a young white, naive, uneducated boy, trying to manage people, because I was the only white person in the business. All the staff were black, and all the customers were black. So it was a hell of a baptism of fire for me, and it was quite challenging. And I didn't really have any kind of credibility with the staff. I didn't know how to communicate with them. I was too young, too white, too stupid. I mean, I really didn't know what I was doing. So I got hold of this one guy. His name was Ralph Mamela.
Yes.
He was a supervisor in the store at the time. And, this was a couple of months later. And I said to him, listen, man, I need you to help me with my communication here.
Yes.
I don't think people are taking me seriously at all. So he said, well, I'll try and help you. And he did help me a bit, and it did come right for it. I was improving. But one day later that year, and it was a period when there were consumer boycotts.
Sure.
Okay, and the black population was trying to boycott white-owned stores and not go and shop at them. In fact, they had people standing in front of the stores, stopping people from coming in. Yeah. And it got quite violent sometimes, and we were a white-owned store. So I mean, despite the fact that I was the only white, we were white-owned.
But you're still
white-owned. So the fact was that I needed some help with all this. Didn't understand what was, and I didn't fully understand the politics. Sure. It was very naive, very naive. So anyway, one day one of the staff comes in and says that Ralph, my guy,
your mentor,
my mentor, he was out there in the streets handing out pamphlets promoting the consumer boycott of our own store. Yeah, so that was a hell of a shock. Sure, I felt some terrible betrayal there.
Yes, I can imagine.
It was bad.
I can imagine.
It was bad. So, so then I called him in, and like in those days you could fire people.
Oh,
there was no labor relations and stuff. Take your jacket,
and go.
And
sure.
Go. And he knew he was going to get fired, and I knew he was going to get fired. But anyway, I started shouting at him and telling him that, how could you do this to me? And then, anyway, eventually he says, I understand why you're upset, but if I can just say one or two things, if you don't mind. I said, yeah, I said, sure. And then he said to me, I'm quite happy here, working here. I enjoy my job and it's been fun. But every single day, virtually every day of my life, on my way into work, on my way home, at home in the evenings, there's always police harassment.
Sure.
He says the police are giving us a hard time. Sure. They just stop you and they give you a hard time. If you don't have your dom pass, then you're in trouble. And it really, and you can end up in jail. Yeah. And he said, we are suffering here. Yeah. So I said, explain, what do you mean we are suffering? So he said, I would do this again if I had to.
Sure.
I said, well,
sure.
Are you serious?
Sure.
He said, yeah, I'm serious. I said, why? Why would you do that again? It just doesn't make any sense. Yeah. You're going to lose your job over this thing.
Yeah.
He said, yeah, but for me, it's freedom first.
Sure.
And work second.
Sure.
Oh. Opened my eyes, opened my mind, and I said, okay, it took me a little while to digest that. And then I said, okay, all right, I'm not going to fire you. In fact, you're going to now become a proper mentor
now.
Proper, real one.
Yeah.
I want you to teach me everything there is to know about South African politics. Because I knew nothing. I came from a very, very protected white Jewish environment.
I see.
Knew nothing about this stuff.
Sure.
So he said, okay, but he says there's only one condition.
Yeah.
I'm happy to do that, but the condition is that you have to come with me to Sorbet. So
1976.
I was young and stupid, but I was
yes.
But I was brave.
Okay. Young, stupid, and brave.
And brave, yeah. So I said, okay, as long as you look after me,
okay.
You're going to look after me,
yeah.
I'll come with you.
Yeah.
And off I went, and then my life changed forever.
Sure.
That was the
okay.
That was the little spark
sure.
that put me on this, what I call my racial healing journey.
Ah, lovely.
And I learned there, I could not believe what I saw, what I found out, what I heard from people living there. And it was like a real privilege for me just to be able to experience that because everyone that I knew, in my community had never been there and would be completely dead scared and afraid to go there. So I was like, I'd been to this thing and I came back into my world and I'm feeling strange there now because all these people don't know what I know, and so it was a bit of a dilemma for a while. And then I said, no, this is my journey now. To move forward, and so that sparked off what was eventually written in that book.
Excellent.
Was my fascination and focus on race relations.
Excellent. Now when someone listens to you, they might believe, okay, your education started there in 1976, 1977, and you carried this passion over the years, and we'll talk a little bit about your Sorbet as well.
Yeah.
One might assume then you are like the master racial healing person. You have zero incidents of slight racism that might happen to you.
I would have liked to believe that, and I think I probably convinced myself that was the case.
Yes.
Until, if you had said to me, listen, Ian, you got a bit of racial bias.
Yes.
I wouldn't have been happy with you. I thought I would have taken that as a deep insult.
Yeah.
But one day, I'm sitting on an aeroplane, waiting to fly from Joburg to Cape Town.
Yeah.
And then the pilot comes over the speaker system there, as they always do, and immediately I could recognize by the accent this was a black guy. And my first instinctive reaction was, oh shit, we're in trouble. Yeah? How are we going to get to Cape Town? And this is about 25 years ago, so it's still so then my second instinctive reaction was, oh my God.
Yeah.
You know, what did I just say? What did I just think?
Oh, yes,
You
yes.
see,
yes.
and I thought, gee, that's the most racist thing I've ever done or ever said. Where does it come from?
Sure.
And then I realized, that we have this thing called unconscious bias, which we grow up with. I call it your book of rules. Everything you learn, everything you experience sits in your book of rules. And in my book of rules, growing up in South Africa, I believe that black people should be cleaning planes, not flying them.
Yes.
And that was my reality.
Yeah.
And then I realized I could never, ever say that I have no racial bias because
whatsoever.
I don't know what else is still lurking.
So,
in
essence,
my brain.
this is a journey for all of us.
For everybody.
Yeah. No, lovely. I love that. So now, so tell me, I don't know if all our listeners know your business journey as well. You had that Kmart store, and then you just a journey of Sorbet.
Yeah. So we had the retail store, and then I went into the music business.
Oh yes.
That was my second venture because I was running Kmart, and then in 1979, 1980, we were selling records. We were doing very, very well with records. We were the first company to discount music in our store. We had these old vinyl records.
Yeah.
And at the time, one of the big stars in South Africa was Letta Mbulu.
Okay.
And she had an album out called There's Music in the Air.
Okay.
Yeah. And we were selling these things like hotcakes.
Yeah.
And we were also the first company in South Africa to have black shareholders and directors.
Oh, stunning.
Back in the 1977, 78. So one of my partners, his name was Carl Molokome.
Okay.
He comes to me one day, he says, this woman, Letta Mbulu, I know them and their family, and her and her husband, Kaifa Semenya, are up in Harare. They're visiting family because they're not allowed to come back to South Africa. They were expats, right? So their family would travel up to Harare. They would come from America, and they would meet with their family. So he said, would you like to go and meet them? I said, geez, please. So we got on the plane. We went to we sat in a hotel room in Harare. And within a couple of hours, I had developed a relationship with Kaifas. Now, Kaifas and I were like this. And he said to me, why don't you release some of our music in South Africa? Why don't you start a record company? Because at that stage, I was still at Kmart.
Okay.
Why don't you start a record company? And we will give you our music to release here and distribute in South Africa.
Excellent.
So I thought, wow. Yeah. I mean, it took me really a split second to say yes, definitely, please, thank you. And that was the start of a long journey with Kaifas. And then we released their first two albums, 1980.
Sure.
Letters, I'm trying to think, when were you born? Come on, let's get this out of the way. When were you born?
6 years after.
6 years after. Okay, so you won't remember this, but you might have heard the music later on in your life. And she had an album which was called Sound of a Rainbow, and Kaifas had an album called Listen to the Wind, and we released those two. Some of the hit songs from Kaifas's album in particular was Angelina. I don't know.
Oh, yes, I know Angelina.
Angelina. You know that song? Angelina.
Oh, you do, Shabi? Okay.
And Zipping Como.
Shami, and that's our benchmark, age-wise.
Okay.
So if she knows it, then we're good.
Then we're good. And songs like Matswale and things like big hits.
Yeah.
And we were flying.
Excellent.
So we sold it, and then Hugh Masekela heard about this, and he's very friendly with Kaifas.
Sure.
So Kaifas said, come, you must come and join us. Yeah. So then we started releasing his music as well, Hugh Masekela as well.
Excellent.
And then we got our big coup. Yeah. We managed to sign the Soul Brothers.
Oh.
Oh.
All right. Okay.
Which was a hell of a story. It's a long story in itself, which I don't think we have time for that one. But we managed to sneak it away from Gallo Records.
Wow.
Whilst they were sleeping,
Sure.
the next thing when they wanted to sign the contract to renew,
Yeah.
they had already signed with us.
Oh, wow.
And the MD got fired because he lost the biggest group in the country.
Sure.
Yeah, and so we had this massive win there.
Yeah.
And so I was involved in the music business for about 7 or 8 years.
Okay.
My brother took over the running of Kmart. Yeah. And then I went back. I went back to Kmart for a while.
Yeah.
To help there, and then afterwards, I was working there back in the 80s, towards the end of '89, at the time when just before Mandela was released and all that, and I was very busy there. And we were at Kmart. What we were doing there is we were doing what we call talk shows, and because there was so much excitement about the changes that were happening, I stopped doing sales training, and culture training. I stopped all of that, and I just spoke politics.
Okay.
So we used to sit and discuss the Freedom Charter, and the PAC manifesto, and all of these things. Azapo. We had a guy called Letsatsi Mosala who was one of the senior players in the Black Consciousness movement, and he came to me one day, and he said, "Listen, I've got this guy. His name is Libon.
Okay.
Libon Mabaso."
All right.
So I said, yeah. He said, well, Libon is the leader of Azapo.
Sure.
Yeah. He's been in prison. Sure. And he's just come out, and now he's banned, so he's not allowed to attend any public gatherings. Okay. However, he is allowed to work.
Okay.
Yeah. So he said, can we give him a job?
Okay.
So I said, sure. So Laban Mabasa, the leader of Azapo, was our dispatch manager.
What was his dispatch?
That was his day job.
Yeah.
And in the night he was plotting the overthrow of the government. Sure. So he had an interesting day. Anyway, so all of this happened, and then I decided, I was so involved in race relations, I decided to go out and consult on race relations. It was a bit of a crazy notion. And I went, and for the next 7 years, I was consulting to big corporates on how to deal with racism in the workplace.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And then when does Sorbet show up?
Sorbet showed up after that in 2004. Okay, so I had, at that stage, we had sold Kmart, which became Supermart. Because we had to change the name. Kmart in America took us to court. Sure. for the use of their name and their logo. I was 22, man. What do you expect? It seemed like a cool name.
And a good logo, and a cool logo as well.
Yeah, it seemed to work for them.
It might work here.
It could work here as well. And also it was so stupid because we know, just thinking in hindsight, so many people say, didn't you worry?
Yes.
The K word.
Oh.
Kmart.
Yo.
Eish.
Hey.
But funny enough, in all those years, that never came up.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was
okay.
But I worried about it a lot. And there was no need for us to call it K. We could have called it T-Mart.
Yes.
T-Mart.
Yes.
But it's
it's
exactly the same name.
It's working there. Why don't bring it here?
That was a bad thing. And anyway, so then after we sold that to Edcon bought, it was then Supermart, became Supermart. Sure. They bought that, and then I was looking for something to do, and one day I was lying on a massage table, having a legitimate massage.
Okay. A legitimate massage. Okay.
And the woman said to me, listen, she said, why don't you look at the beauty industry? I was talking to her, I'm looking for something to do. So I said, nah, man, look at this face.
Yes.
This is not a face.
This has got nothing to do with beauty.
Nothing to do with beauty. So she said, no, but there's a gap in the market. Sure. And I said, yeah, but is there a market in the gap? She said, yes, because there are no beauty salon chains in the whole country, not one. No one had been able to successfully. a very, very fragmented market, hundreds of mom and pop stores, and a couple that had tried but very unsuccessfully to build any kind of a chain.
Yeah.
And so I thought that was quite a challenge.
That's interesting.
And I thought to myself, why not? I mean, why hasn't anyone been able to do this?
Yeah.
And so I said, anyway, let's go and find out. So I started buying up a couple of beauty salons, independent ones, and then in 2005, after about a year of this, we rebranded them, and then we launched it as Sorbet.
Excellent.
And then I had to learn. I mean, I had no idea about the beauty industry. I really had to learn from scratch. I thought that a Brazilian was a person who lived in Brazil.
I still think so.
I see it.
Could it mean something else?
And that Hollywood was a place they made movies. And yeah.
It could mean something else.
They just bikini waxers. She's laughing at the back there.
You got it. I still think Hollywood.
Yeah, I mean, there was one wax which really blew me away. They call it a 3/4 leg wax.
Okay.
A 3/4 leg wax. And I used to have sleepless nights, wondering which quarter they left out. I mean, it was bad. I used to have nightmares of people leaving our salons with hairy ankles. I mean, really, it was bad. Anyway, I had to learn quickly. It was a very steep learning curve. Anyway, yeah, so that we started off, and then we realized, I found out fairly quickly why there were no beauty salon chains. Is that because they couldn't get the consistency of service across a chain.
Sure.
And so when people tried to do this, and they opened 2 and 3 and then 4, and then it became too hard.
Okay.
They couldn't get the people to all deliver the same quality of service with the right attitude, etc. And then I realized the importance of culture. You see, I mean, so I had been building it over the years.
So good.
But I thought this is now an opportunity.
Yeah.
And in fact, that framework that I had been building was built before I started Sorbet.
Okay.
When Sorbet started, it wasn't a typical startup, because what happens normally with a startup is you get an idea, you experiment, you get a proof of concept, and then you start to scale, and then you build your culture.
Yes.
In this case, I had my culture.
I see.
Before.
I see.
Before I even started. I knew exactly what the culture was going to look like.
Sure.
I just needed a business to actually practice it.
Wow.
And that's how Sorbet was born.
Sure.
And so from day one, I did all the induction training myself.
Sure.
So that people knew exactly what the culture was going to be.
Okay.
And that was our only hope, that we could build some sort of consistency across the chain, because when I opened Sorbet, it was with a deliberate intention of building a chain. It wasn't let me open one store, see how it goes.
And then, I've got some money, and then I can open another one.
No, we bought 5. We started with 5.
Okay.
And we launched, and the plan was to go.
Okay.
And it took us quite a while to get going, because we wanted to franchise.
Yeah.
But we couldn't really franchise. We couldn't get it off the ground, or couldn't build sufficient credibility to attract franchise interest.
Yeah.
So we hoped we would be able to franchise after 3 or 4 outlets.
Yeah.
Ended up having 22
owned
stores before we could sell our first franchise.
Sure.
and I mean, the money was going into a deep hole there. Yeah. And
for how long?
Yeah, 4.5 years.
Of
not make. It took us 4.5 years to break even at Sorbet.
That is a very long time.
It was a long time of pumping money in every single month. And
what
banks
kept
would
you?
even, I mean, they would laugh at me when I was going, what is this old fart? What is he doing in the beauty industry? Serves him right, you know. Oh, God, it was bad.
And what kept you
there
for that? You could have stopped.
Yeah, many people would have stopped. And there's a very fine line between bravery and stupidity. And you know what? I learned something really interesting in those days. There are 4 main characteristics of an entrepreneur.
Okay, good. Let's hear.
Right. Number 1, you cannot be afraid to fail.
Okay, good.
Okay, like you. Right? There we are the same. You're not afraid, right? You're definitely not. So you can't be afraid to fail, because if you're afraid to fail, you'll never do half the things you need to do. Number two, you need to have intuition.
Sure.
So intuition, in my understanding, is knowing that something is right.
Yeah. Without
the evidence
data
to prove it.
Yes.
That's it. You got to have that. You got to believe. That's what After all these years and stores, I had the belief that one day it would be okay.
Wow.
Then the third one is courage, because there are
Good.
many times when you want to turn back or throw in the towel and cut your losses and get out. And say this was a bad experience. And then fourth is the determination to keep going when everything looks so bleak.
That is so good.
Yeah.
That
So those four things.
I love those four.
It's a little bit like being a pioneer.
Yes.
And you can separate the pioneers from the settlers. Okay, so an entrepreneur is the pioneer. The pioneer goes out into the unknown territory, doesn't have a map.
Yeah.
Doesn't have a map. He goes. He's got a destination, an unknown destination.
Yes.
He doesn't know where, but somewhere out there is a place where he's going to start his farm and he's going to build his life, right?
Sure.
And so he goes out there. Many dangers there.
Yeah.
In the old westerns, you can always tell the pioneer because he's the guy with the arrow in his back. So it's a dangerous environment.
Sure.
And they go out there with no map, and they have to discover this territory for themselves.
Yeah.
In the meantime, the settlers are watching from the back, from the mountaintops, overlooking from the safe place. You see, they say, is it safe out there now?
Can we come out now?
Can we come out now? And they say, no, it's not safe.
Sure.
It's never safe.
Sure.
But I can sell you a map. You see, I can sell you a map because now I've been there. I've done it. I've taken the risks. And right? And if I do get it right, then I take the cream. And you guys can come after.
Yeah.
And then try your best.
And if not,
that's the difference. Is that
stunning.
Is the risk takers and the risk people that are averse to.
Love the analogy a lot. Wow, and time is going. So racial healing.
Right, racial
So
healing.
now, what is this in a concept?
The human bridge.
Yeah.
Okay, so the idea to write the book started while I was sitting in a conference that was being run by News 24 in 2023, about a year before the elections. Right?
Okay, yes.
And they had all these, all the opposition leaders on the stage, and it was a very interesting thing. And they were talking about different things, politics and elections, and we're talking about crime and the weather and all the stuff.
All the agendas.
Yeah. And I'm waiting patiently because of my interest in race. I'm waiting patiently for someone to start talking about race, because I say, how can you talk about a future South Africa and not even mention race? Wow. The one thing that has created every problem virtually that we face today, 300 years of systemic racism, and now we don't talk about it anymore.
Sure.
So whilst I was sitting in that thing, I decided to write that book.
There's something that you said. You say race issues have created virtually every problem.
Just about.
In South Africa.
Yes.
That's
in my view,
statement.
race touches everything.
Okay.
Because you can't pick on any subject, any challenge that we have. Poverty, everything, crime, poverty, corruption,
unemployment.
The whole lot has got some sort of base in our history.
Sure.
And my view in life is that the past is always present.
The past is always present. Just say more, sounds deep.
The past is always present. Because whatever happens now is somehow the result of our past. You know? And in many different ways. And so when we run what we call the Human Bridge circles, which are essentially racial healing workshops with groups of people of different races, when we run those, one of the key elements of it is trying to understand or get a better understanding of our history.
Okay.
And it has surprised me amazingly how little people know about the true history of South Africa.
The true history.
They've got some ideas, but they don't know the underlying concept, the objectives of what apartheid was trying to achieve. And it wasn't just separation, it was mind manipulation. And the psychological damage that created, that what we call the hierarchy of human value. The hierarchy of human value, saying that some races or race groups were more valuable than others. So therefore, if you have higher value, you're entitled to treat people differently. You can justify, it's like slavery. You could justify slavery by convincing the slaves that they were inferior. If you can convince them that they're inferior, then you can do whatever you like. So that thing was passed all the way down through the years and then into apartheid, where they then legislated the whole thing. So that hierarchy of human value became law. And as we know, and then, so people have a basic understanding of that, but they don't understand the real thing. They don't understand why the Bantu Education Act was passed in 1953, the year that I was born.
You seem to have these milestones.
I was born at these really interesting times. I was born in Vanderbijl Park. And people ask, why were you born there? And I wanted to be close to my mother. She was there. She happened to be there at the time. Anyway, so in 1953 they passed the Bantu Education Act, and people don't understand what that was and why, and the impact that it had. So when Hendrik Verwoerd stood up in Parliament and said, listen, and black people should never rise above the level of labourer in South Africa. And therefore, there is no need to teach them maths and science. So we take that out of the curriculum, and they can then remain uneducated. And it's not just that, but what is the underlying thinking behind it is, if we keep the population uneducated, we can keep the economy to ourselves. So that process of taking away education from black children excluded them from access to the economy and to any kind of equality.
And all of this have got this domino effect to everything else.
Exactly.
And you're sitting there wondering, how is no one talking about race?
How can we not talk about race? And the thing is, so many people, whites in particular, but others as well, are saying, but we're tired of talking about
it's
the
been 30
years. Let's move on now.
And
then they talk about all the BEE and how that has failed. And, it's not just the history, it's the recent history. And recent history is history. It's still, yesterday is history. So we need to take all that into account. It's not like we're ignoring what has happened in the 30 years. It's been bad. But when people say that the government is corrupt, and that's absolutely right. The corruption is shocking. However, think about what the apartheid government did in terms of corruption. Because here they're just stealing the money. There they stole the country. They took the whole country. They took the economy. They took everything. And if that's not corruption, they took their land. I mean, if that is not the worst form of corruption, then what is? So sometimes we tend to forget where we've come from, and we only look at what's happening now, which is horrific. But still,
but relative to
it's just like it's our time now, kind of thing. You've had your time. Now it's us, and so it's complex. It's much more complex than meets the eye, and that's why that book is all about. Let's not move on until we fully understand what has happened and how it's impacted and how we got ourselves into this mess in the first place. And that's what that book does. It explains to everybody how we became what we are today.
Lovely. Now, I'm a leader in an organization, and so are some of my listeners. What then do I do with this content? How does it help me? How does it help me lead? How do I apply some of what I learn here?
Okay, so if you want to build a strong culture in the business, you're going to have to deal with the diversity issues.
Okay.
That's the thing, because otherwise you're never going to have that sense of belonging that is so important if you ever want to have a strong culture that delivers great service.
Okay.
Because nobody comes to work just to make money for the shareholders.
Sure.
And I've never seen anybody come singing joyful songs about the pleasure of making money for the owners of the business. It doesn't happen, not in my lifetime. Anyway, so it's what is going to motivate people? Because they have to motivate themselves.
Sure.
How do we motivate people? How do we make them feel comfortable enough to really go out there and serve their customers to the best of their ability?
Sure.
So every single business owner has to contemplate, how do we serve better?
Okay.
And the only way to serve better is to build an environment which is conducive to people wanting to serve better.
Sure.
Not being forced.
Sure.
Because being forced is not the answer.
Okay.
But wanting to serve better. And that's how it can help people dramatically. And have the conversations. Interact. Talk about things. And there's people say, what can I do? This problem is too big.
Yes. It's
but there's a lot
political.
you can
I'm
do.
just the procurement manager.
Yes.
I've got 7 people working in my department. Those politics is just too much.
But you can influence each one of those 7 in a positive way. So we're not looking about asking people to change the world. We're asking them to have an impact on their immediate surroundings in their sphere of influence.
Right.
That's what we want.
And this will not flow into party politics and the...
No, we try it. No. That's not the point. I mean, that's just one of the areas of diversity, is that we have people supporting different political parties, the same as we have different race, different culture, different religion.
Yeah.
All those things are different, and politics is just another difference.
I'm with you.
So the whole thing is, how do we accept and respect other people's views?
Sure.
Because there are always multiple truths.
Sure.
If we think that our truth is the only truth, then we are finished. Then we can't get off the beginning, the first block.
Okay.
Because if we think ours is the only way, the way that I see the world is the right way,
Sure.
and everyone else is wrong, that's not a good way to run a business.
Sure.
So you've got to learn those truths.
And is there like a sense of, okay, I've gone through my racial healing journey and I am black belt.
Yeah.
I'm Ian certified black belt racial healing person.
Yeah. It reminds me of the one black guy. He told me he would never play snooker anymore because it was always the white ball that got to hit the black one.
And that's how you win the game.
You always
That's how
win.
the game is.
Yeah, when you sink the black one, that's when you win. Anyway, so look, I mean, it's a highly complex, highly volatile subject, but people need to delve into it. They need to understand this. Wishing it away is really a hopeless effort, because nothing changes.
Sure.
Nothing will change until we sit down, and this national dialogue, whatever happens there, if they're talking about race as part of the national dialogue, then it's worthwhile.
Okay. Right. So now you've convinced us to all go get the Human Bridge, Racial Healing in South Africa. Where do we go from here? Where do we find the book?
The book is in exclusive, and it's also online. You can get the books, and also I keep stock as well at the Hatch Institute. Yeah.
Great. So if people wanted to reach to you for the book and for the racial healing circles and the consulting work that you do in
all
the
of
space.
that. Yeah. So at this stage, you could write to me at info@hatchinstitute.co.za. Hatch Institute. Yeah.
Excellent. So we'll put that in the show notes so that everyone gets the details. So on your racial healing circles.
Yeah.
When in my meetings and day to day do I go, I think we need to call Ian. for racial healing centers. Yes. When and who is that person that will be saying, "Oh, I just came out of Exco.
Yeah.
Please get me Ian's number."
Yeah. Look, it would normally be, it would sometimes start with HR, but often it's the CEO himself or herself that decides, listen, we need to work on. And when you get support from the CEO, from our perspective, that's when it works.
Excellent.
When the CEO says to the HR person, let's just do this culture thing, you know, let's tick that box.
Yes.
Then you're wasting your time.
Sure.
It's got to be a proper commitment.
From the CEO.
Yeah.
And then what will be giving the CEO headache that then makes him or her go,
yeah.
You know, we've had other consultants, but I think it's time we call in.
Let me give you an example.
Yeah.
This is a true example, right? There's one guy running a business, I won't mention the name.
Yeah.
He's running a business, white guy, and they're having trouble maintaining and keeping their black young people that are coming through.
Yeah.
They come and then they go for whatever reason. And so he heard me do a talk one night, and he phoned me up and said, please come and help me. So he said, I don't know why these guys are leaving, you know. And he says, I can understand that they will get offered more.
Yeah, there's enough stories around that, like they're on high demand.
And I said to him, how many people of color do you have in your exco?
Yes.
He looked at me and he said, I've got one Indian and one black out of 15.
Sure.
So I said, well, there's your answer.
Sure.
Because that was the easiest problem I've ever solved. Because the black people are coming in, they look up.
They're like, no.
They look up, they say, I'm wasting my time. Simple as that.
Sure. And then the sense is that the ones that are here, they're not ready for Exco.
So
we won't just put them in Exco, etc.
We can't find people who think like us.
Yeah.
You know, that's one of the excuses that I hear. It makes me cringe. But but there's lots of work to be done.
There is lots of work to be done. Ian, thanks so much. Wow, we've gone over time. Ladies and gentlemen, Ian Fuhr.